everyone. We are kicking off today with an exciting transformation story. Richard, Lynn, and I are going to unpack how sharp strategy has driven success for Nationwide, creating disruption, building brand magnetism, and powering business growth. And Kantar are super proud to have partnered with Nationwide on that journey. Now, not all of you will work in banking, but all of you will have a bank account. And all of you will have noticed the huge changes happening to the sector over the last 10 to 15 years. Tech advancements, regulatory changes have changed the way we bank. It's now much easier to bank on your phone. It's far less easy to find a bank on your high street. And for the banks and building societies, this has been a case of disrupt or be disrupted. Against this backdrop, Nationwide have built brand magnetism by driving meaningful difference. What we've done is we've taken some Kantar brand dynamics data and plotted the retail banks in the UK according to how meaningful and how different they are. Top left, you've got the neobanks, the new competitors, spawned out of this disruption. And they are highly meaningful, but not yet as highly different, but not yet as meaningful as the traditional banks, sitting bottom right, really with a meaningful advantage, but not as different as the neobanks anymore. Nationwide is the one in red, and I'm going to fast forward through time, across 2024 to 2025, and watch how that red dot moves. Nationwide had a strategic advantage in meaningfulness, but there was a job to be done strategically to build that difference, to grow. And what we saw as we move over time is Nationwide really developing on that meaningful difference, growing over time. And that's important because, one thing I should also say is that, and what makes it even more impressive is that we saw that happening across age cohorts. So we saw Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, that significant difference on both of those metrics happening across those cohorts. And this is important because meaningful difference is growth gold dust. It helps drive demand and it helps justify a premium. So I bet you're thinking, wow, how did they achieve that? And I'm going to let Richard tell you that story. But before I hand over, I want you to listen out for the audacious, unambiguous strategy, the way that they've catalyzed connection through culture, and the way that they've cohesively connected all their activation and exposures and experiences. Over to you, Richard.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. We're big fans of the movement of that red dot. So it's sort of 2 years on from everything we've done on Nationwide has happened over the last 2 years. In 2023, we had a situation that we described as lovely, lovely Nationwide. Nationwide was this very warm, very cuddly, very cozy building society. And it had, its end line was building society nationwide. It was very strong in savings, very strong in mortgages, and very, very strong with an older audience who'd grown up with building societies. And, you know, as Lindsay's just been talking about, the banking sector had been very significantly disrupted by the neobanks, so, you know, Monzo, Starling, Revolut, which all of the big banks had actually taken notice of and changed accordingly. But Nationwide has remained blissfully indifferent to this change in the landscape and continued to plough their not unlucrative, cozy furrow. But the big issue was that Nationwide was seen to be incredibly old-fashioned. This whole brand livery hadn't actually changed since 1987. The internet bank, which it pains me to admit is still in the same situation, dates from a sort of teletext type era. And then the app has only recently been modernized. And the problem was, you know, Nationwide was failing to appeal to a younger audience. The opportunity that we saw, which is not sort of dissimilar to the quadrants that you've just been shown, the way we map the market is we've got a vertical axis of banks that are focused on delivering shareholder value, and then institutions which are focused exclusively on their customers, so free to focus just on customers. And then there's the scale axis on the horizontal. So the way we map it is, the neobanks are smaller for shareholders, and then over to the right that is the big banks, and obviously Santander getting very close to them now post TSB acquisition. And then there are, several small building societies. Coventry, though, just taken over Co-op. But we think the opportunities in this top right that we can be a full-scaled competitor to the big banks by focusing exclusively on customers. And so we acquired Virgin Money last year, which again is going to afford us even more scale in terms of geographical presence, but also presence in markets that we haven't been operating in at the moment, such as business banking. So as Lindsay was saying, we started with a purpose, and we defined the purpose in 2023 for Nationwide as banking, but fairer, more rewarding, and for the good of society. So very significantly is that first word, banking. So this is a departure saying that, we don't want to be seen to be a building society, we want to be seen in the banking market. And then the second most important word is that but. In that, we are operating in banking, but we want to do so in a different way. And how back to difference and meaningful. How are we going to be different? How are we going to be meaningful? By being fairer, more rewarding, so giving our customers, our members something back, and also operating for the good of society. And we'll talk about how we've done that. And then this is what everyone, this purpose is shared throughout the organization. We recently reaffirmed it with all of our Virgin Money colleagues as well. And on the left are what we call our strategic drivers. So this is what we have to deliver as a business. So simply brilliant experiences, more rewarding relationships, beacon for mutual goods, that's doing good for society, and then simplify, integrate and grow is much more an internal delivery as we bring together with Virgin Money. And then on our right-hand side, we have our behaviors, feel what customers feel, say it straight, push for better, get it done. So as Lindsay was saying, everyone has this. This is how everyone's evaluated in terms of performance twice a year. These are the metrics that the business succeeds or fails on. So very, very clear purpose. So the first thing we had to do in literally 2 years ago this month, October 23, is to modernize the look and feel of the brand. And you'll see on this slide the way that we changed the logo top left. So we basically got this very simple house and sun device now. We also took away the uppercase N, so it's now a lowercase n. And then very significantly, we dropped the words building society from the brand. So it's now just Nationwide. And then we simplified the typefaces of a couple of typefaces. And then everything was rebranded in October 23. So overnight, we did all of our literature, all of our new cards. So if someone was applying for a new debit card or credit card, they'd get the new look. We rebranded our branches. We rebranded the app and the internet bank just in terms of the livery. So everything was done together. We didn't sort of stage it out over several months. So that was sort of stage one, was completely overhauling the look and feel, which astonishingly hadn't been touched since 1987, as I say. The second thing we did was to launch a new marketing campaign. So we've launched the TV campaign that you've, I'm sure, seen, featuring Dominic West. And then we had a big branch promise to communicate at the time, which is that we weren't closing branches. And this has been a great source of difference, a meaningful difference to us, the fact that we are promising to keep branches open, and we take great pleasure in the banks continually announcing that they're closing branches because everyone's now banking digitally, which just isn't true. Yes, they're doing a lot of their banking digitally, but not all of their banking digitally, and they would like to be able to go to a branch, but they can't because you've closed it. So yes, I do have to do it digitally or via chatbot. So Go Nowhere High Street was doing that. In fact, we've got a branch manager in every branch. And then we did a lot of communication about having the biggest network. So this campaign launched. We basically adapted our media mix as we went. So we're now using the full sort of suite of AV channels. And this was a learning for us. We've had to continue to add new channels and new tactics as we've gone. And I think, we really have learnt about what media fragmentation means on the fly, and we've had to continually pivot our media mix and the way and on our marketing tactics, which we'll talk about in a minute. We're using much more out of home in sort of urban environments on London Underground and so on. And this is our most recent ad, which has got the Kantar proprietary painted expressiveness index playing through it. Let's have a.
Oi! Hey, you missed a spot! Zozo!
Hi, Dad. Could you send me some money?
Now you need your old dad.
Yeah, we missed our flight out of Zanti, so we have to rebook.
Wait a second. This is a scam, isn't it?
What?
I've heard about these. You're not my daughter, you're an AI.
AI?
You think you can scam old Hugo, do you?
Dad!
Well, get lost.
Nationwide has a scam checker service, so if their customers are worried about making a payment, they can call any time and someone will check if it's legitimate. Like that one definitely was.
You're so naive.
Yes, don't worry, I'll speak to him.
If you're ever worried about making a payment, call us and a real person will scam check it.
Squeegee me.
Nationwide, a good way to beat scams, a good way to bank.
Yeah, so we've got the that N line, a good way to bank, was obviously launched also in 23. And just at the completely other end of the target market, for the second year running, we've had a very successful student recruitment campaign under this concept of nation-fried. And, when I was talking earlier about learning new tactics, I was talking to Dom about it at the beginning. This is, again, has been really illuminating to us in terms of, how to use creators, how to use influencers, and often things that work in ways that you just cannot expect, particularly in the creator and influencer space. So this is what we've just been doing. This is all about student recruitment, which again, last year we took 30% of the student recruitment market, and I think we're going to do even better than that this year. And this is the kind of assets that we are running in that space.
Order number 37.
Let us know where you're at, we'll bring that right there.
Bags.
Yeah.
Can I get some help?
On it.
Look, roll up, call the hotline, come phone up. Get the one down to the shoulder, stacking up, no folder. Hold up, roll up, got 'em running round for the gold rush. All around the town like no luck. I was on the way for the soda.
Guys, how do you pronounce it? Is it calf or cafe?
Joe, it's just calf. That's how you pronounce it.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Enjoy your food.
Back into the trap door, cat dog, running them on the old court. Basement, killing them out of the trap door. Everybody rocking and dropping them on the floor. Hot, pepper, top, stepper, hey.
Right, you lot. Breakfast is over. Go to your lectures, please. I need a bro.
Oh, that was hectic.
You want to try Love Island, mate?
So using Olivia Atwood and Joe Baggs, and we used GK Barry last year and Ari Panero. Sorry, go on one. And then also we've got a sort of signature proposition every year, which is Fairer Share, where we give £100 to all of our customers who have got a current account and one other product, savings or mortgage, if they've got 100 quid in the savings. We have done it for 3 years running now. We gave 100 quid to 4 million people. So we gave 400 million pounds of profits to our customers this year, which is just, in very sharp contrast to what the banks do with their profits. And again, we marketed it in a really interesting way this year, which is talking all about Happy Fairer Share Day. And this, again, was a really interesting learning that we'd previously marketed it in an abstract way and talked about the previous advertising said we've got something important to share our profits. So we're talking about the principle of sharing profits with members as opposed to giving them to shareholders. And actually, what we found from social were people were just thrilled to get the 100 quid, unsurprisingly. So we've really lent into that this year, and we've done a lot of UCG content where we actually get the actual assets of people celebrating, being told they're going to get the 100 quid and gain the 100 quid, and we're actually reusing that in our advertising. And then finally, just to talk about how we bring the purpose to life through things other than comms. Top left, passbooks. So as you can imagine, some older customers particularly value having passbooks. And we had a problem, which is that the printers that update the passbooks, I don't know if you remember when you go into the branch and you had your passbooks updated with interest, and the printers weren't made anymore. So we basically had to work out how we were going to do this. And lots of our competitors have completely scrapped passbooks and said, we can't be bothered with that. It's not digital. It won't look good on LinkedIn. So what we did is to say, what is it that customers most value about passbooks? And we found that actually what they really liked was being able to go into the branch and just have a chat. So it wasn't so much about, seeing the interest. It was about the fact that, as part of their trip down the high street, they could go to the grocer, go to the post office, and go into their local Nationwide and just have a chat with the person they knew behind the counter and get it updated. But they did like having a physical record and something tangible. So we redesigned the passbook to make it a passbook wallet, but kept all of the functionality. And this, again, is something that we can do because we're only focused on what's right for our customers. Bottom left is a local marketing campaign where we lean very aggressively into competitor closures and the way that they are, completely deserting communities because obviously everyone's banking digitally. And then in the middle we have a savings watch proposition, which is that we will always tell you if we've got a better interest rate on your savings. So again, one of the ways that, this is back to fairer. One of the ways that banks make money is by getting you into a savings account and then not telling you when the interest rate goes down, and then you forget that your savings are with them and the interest rate has suddenly dropped down. But we will always write to people, we let them know if there are better products they should be on. So, and then finally, in terms of good of society, we give 1% of our profits to charities, and one of the charities we work with is Dementia UK, and we've got a very popular partnership with them at the moment where we have their Admiral nurses, who are people who advise on people whose relatives have got dementia and they're struggling to know what to do. And then we've got 200 of their nurses, not 200 nurses, in 200 branches. We've got their nurses, and you can make an appointment even if you're not a Nationwide customer. So that is, the good of society, not just Nationwide members. So I think we've made a lot of progress, as the red dot showed. There's a lot more to do. I'm going to hand to Lynn.
Thank you, Richard. What a fantastic success story. I think that deserves a round of applause. So there's so much we could learn by unpacking each of those individual activations, but Lindsay and I wanted to take things up a level to just have a real hard think about what it is that underpins the success Nationwide have seen. But to start with, I'd like to propose a disruption of my own, which is that I don't think we should have the title Chief Marketing Officer anymore. So at Cannes, there was this suggestion that, maybe there should be the Chief Entertainment Officer. And initially I was like, yes, that's such a great idea. And then I thought, no, Lynn, hang on. We're not in the business of entertainment, we're in the business of brand building. So what I'd like to propose instead is that we should have the Chief Magnetism Officer. So why magnetism? Let me explain. So magnetism, if you think about it, is this real ethereal thing. It's a bit like brands, that sense of attraction. It's about charm, it's about charisma, it's about persuasion. And brands have got those intangible characteristics that predispose us to choose them over other alternatives. They come with that feeling of rightness, that magnetism that draws us towards them. And that means also we're willing to pay more for them. In a world of noise and sameness, people are drawn to things that are different. They're also drawn to things that make them feel something, things that are meaningful, things that resonate powerfully with them, things that really evoke a powerful emotional reaction. And that's magnetism in action. And what we know about magnetic brands is that they grow more. And as we've seen with Nationwide, they're meaningful, they're different, and they're salient. So Richard started off by sharing their magnetic north, their vision for where they were heading. And what's really interesting about this is that true north doesn't change, it doesn't move with time, but magnetic north does evolve as the Earth's magnetic field changes. And this is what brands have got to do. They've got to evolve, as Nationwide did, in a really bold, disruptive way as culture and society changes. So thinking about what makes you meaningful and how you can evolve that over time. Another great source for inspiration for your magnetic north is looking at what your competitors are pretty rubbish at, that you're really brilliant at, because that can also be a great source of differentiation for you and is really meaningful. And also thinking about what's your magnetic south, so what is it that you're not, really helps give you that clarity. And so Nationwide's magnetic north isn't just a direction, it's the force for everything they do. And if brands don't have direction, they're going nowhere, they flounder. So having a really clear strategy is key to giving you that sense of direction and a destination for where the whole business is going. And the clarity of that vision is so clear for Nationwide that it will fit onto a fridge magnet. Now you might be sitting there thinking, nah, I don't believe you, Lynn. It's true. I made a fridge magnet and for his team, so it does fit. And my question for you is, my challenge for you is, can you do that with your brand? Can you fit your magnetic north onto a fridge magnet? Because if you can't, it suggests you need to distill and simplify even further. And that's where Lindsay and our brand strategy team can really help. So that bold, unambiguous strategy is really key in setting your direction. Be purposefully disruptive. Think about how you've got that sharpness, that fridge magnet clarity, and think carefully about your priority audience and where that growth is going to come from.
And once you've set that strategy, culture provides a powerful way to connect with people and bring that strategy to life. From the core values that we hold to the viral videos that we watch, culture is everywhere. It's what we talk about, what we eat, what we wear. It's the Adidas, not the Adidas, it's the Oasis concert that some of you were lucky enough to go to on the weekend, and the Adidas merch that you bought when you were there. It's vintage and Labubu dolls. It's lion's mane and zebra striping, social saunas, secret Santas, Strava communities. I could go on. Culture helps create common ground. It is a powerful currency for communicating what matters to the people that you serve. And people today, they expect brands to play a meaningful role in culture and society. But when you realize the impact, the potential impact for brand and business growth in connecting to culture, then you'll realize that it goes beyond meeting consumer expectations and it becomes business imperative. Brands can be placed on a continuum from culturally tone deaf to culturally vibrant, connecting with, energizing and shaping culture. And our Kantar Brand Z data shows us that those brands that are culturally vibrant, they grow 6 times more than those who don't. 6 times. And this works because culture or cultural vibrancy is a way that brands can build meaningful difference. And we know that meaningful difference is a proven route to growth, as I talked about before. So when you get it right, then culture pays. Culturally vibrant brands maximize their meaningful difference by being visionary, inspiring, bold, and exciting. This is about connecting authentically in a way that sets you apart and really resonates with your audiences. This means that the DNA and direction that shape your brand's magnetic north, as Lynn has so eloquently explained, should be, and what matters to your audiences, should be reflected consistently in your cultural connection. Richard talked us through Nationwide's purpose and how that sharp strategy has been central to everything that they've done. And the way that they've connected to culture is no different. You can see those values of fairer, more rewarding, and for the good of society reflected and intrinsic in those. Their cultural platforms have been designed to connect with those strategically important cohorts and win where experienced. And this is the really exciting chart. The impact of this activity has been to put Nationwide ahead of the traditional banks and in line with the neobanks on our cultural vibrancy scale. So that's our Vibe Index. What we've got on this chart is, again, using Kantar brand dynamics data. We've got that cultural vibrancy on the horizontal. We've got brand demand power on the vertical, and that's how well the brands are being able to fuel predisposition. What this view enables us to do is to see those brands that are using culture to magnify their equity versus those brands with an opportunity to drive growth by dialing up their cultural vibrancy. Nationwide has magnified their equity through their cultural vibrancy, and this is happening across cohorts, which is brilliant to see, with perhaps a little bit more work still to be done on the under 35s, but I know you're on that, Richard. So deeply resonant and relevant cultural connections can drive brand magnetism, but to be sure that your brand is set up for success, create those systems for cultural navigation. As I said, culture is vast. In order to shape culture rather than to chase culture, you need to build your cultural fluency and find those enduring constants that your brand can springboard from longer term. And come and chat to us in the Brand and Culture Zone afterwards to find out more about this. Use your strategy as a filter. I mean, that sounds really obvious, but prioritize by homing in on what you want to achieve and who you want to connect with. And lastly, drive impact and effectiveness by being true to brand and true to context.
Okay. So good things always come in three. If those of you that know me will know there's always three. So here's our third layer, which is all about ensuring that everything that you do glues together magnetically so that you've got that cohesion across all of those experiences. Because each interaction with your brand is an opportunity to consolidate those perceptions and associations that exist in people's heads. It's a bit like a stalactite in a cave. You've got to drip in exactly the same place for that to become really clear. And it's also an imperative from an effectiveness point of view, and you'll hear more about that soon. But what's important to know is that every exposure and experience, so every encounter with your brand is an opportunity to consolidate that magnetic north, to build and reinforce what makes you meaningfully different. And what's really interesting in this category is that if you were to add up all of the experiences, they count more for the exposures. But what we shouldn't forget in financial services and in other categories is that exposures shape what people think and feel about your brand. It's an opportunity to enhance experiences when you deliver them really well. It also shapes what your employees think and feel. You know, delivering in the branch network, that clarity in your communications and your exposures really sets you up for success. But how do you go about achieving it? Well, repetition is key. And there are some ways that I'm sure will instantly spring to mind for you. So consistent use of a creative platform or a big idea, consistent use of distinctive assets, of course, or even maybe using the same content repeatedly or extended across channels. But there's another way, Lindsay.
Absolutely. Another way to complement those approaches is to imbue a consistent, recognizable, emotive tone of voice into your magnetic north and then through into all your exposures and experiences. This is about how a brand makes you feel and what it says about you. And that's a really important part of what makes a brand magnetic. And creating consistency in this way is also helpful, especially when you're trying to flex across markets and platforms and all the new stuff that you're doing. It's also a proven way to drive difference and justify a premium. Kantar's need scope framework helps make sense of emotion. It helps identify routes to meaningful difference through emotive clarity. And we used our need scope AI to look at some of the, if you click one more, look at some of the nationwide activation So we used an e-scope AI and expert decoding, and what we saw was that unmistakable, nationwide, straight-talking, approachable sense of humor reflected cohesively across touch points. And we see this in our Brand Z personality results also. People have clarity about what the nationwide brand is about, and that has been strengthening over time.
So I've got two last charts to show you just how amazing this success story is. So here, the red line again for nationwide shows how much noise they've been building in the market, the sense of ad awareness. And you can see what's happening in the category. So they're really showing the category how it's done. You might be thinking, is it just about spend? No, it's not. There's a real sense of curiosity and desire to keep doing things better and a real restlessness. What you can see here, the average for financial services advertising is in the yellow. It's a category that really struggles to create cut-through, to connect to the brand. But what Nationwide and Richard's team have shown us is you can get it right when you work really hard at it. And we're really proud to have worked with them from the seeds of the idea through to where the campaign is today and how it keeps evolving. So that sense of consistency across exposures is really key. So just pulling everything together, I already said that repetition is key to creating memories. So I'm sure today you'll go away with the word magnetic in your head. But what we really hope you remember is all the ways to be magnetic inspired by Nationwide's success story. Having that really clear vision, that sense of direction, bringing that to life in a culturally vibrant and engaging and effective way, and then ensuring you've got that cohesion across all of your assets is for sure going to set you up to build a really magnetic brand. Thank you very much.
Thank you.